Good morning, everyone. صبحكم الله بالخير. Welcome to another session of Minds at Work. Today we have another one from GFH Partners. شكلنا بنفتر عليهم كلهم. So, first of all, congratulations, Deena, for being a part of the program and being the ambassador of the program. Round of applause, please. We are really, really proud of you. Please welcome to the stage, Hayat.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing today? So today I'll just give you guys a bit of background on what is Lamea, how my journey personally was in the program. And I'll be joined on stage today by our GM, Lamea Rafahi, and board member Fatma Bastiki, just to give you guys a bit of background on how the process works and the selection. I forgot.
There you go.
So Lamea, do you wanna?
Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be amongst you here today and talk to you a little bit about the national project Lamea. It has been launched about 5 years ago now, so we just wrapped up our 5th batch with Deena. They just graduated a couple of weeks ago, and we are already ready to launch the 6th batch. I don't know if you have been already informed, but inshallah, registration is going to open on the 2nd of May, which is this coming Saturday. So we really look forward to receiving everybody. And the purpose of today's session is to really, give you some insights, some reflections for you to understand a little bit more about the experience of going through the program and how you can optimize your application, so we can hopefully welcome you. So Lamea was launched under the patronage of His Highness Sheikh Nasser bin Hamad Al Khalifa, and today it stands as Bahrain's flagship platform to empower the 1% of Bahraini youth elites. Since 2024, the program has been fully managed under the umbrella of Lamea Association, and the beauty of this is that the association is fully comprised of the alumni of the program. And so we work in iterations, and every year, whoever has completed the program has a hand in shaping the next batch, and that's how we always get stronger, we get better, and we're always informed by the experiences and aspirations of our community. In 2024, Lamea has won the Best Arab Youth Empowerment Project in the Arab Excellence Awards in the United Arab Emirates. And last year, we also won the Global Edge Fund Awards. So we're incredibly proud, and all of this was able to be achieved by the merit and the efforts of our community. So what is the ultimate purpose of the program? So احنا دايما نقول إن it's about discovering, upskilling, and then highlighting youth talent. So discovery happens through a rigorous 3-month filtration process, which is what's about to start now in May, and it continues on until August. So بروحة, it's a full program on its own just to go through the filtration process. And the purpose here is to identify the top 1%. Upskilling happens through the training program itself, which is a rigorous 4-month journey that starts in September all the way through January. And we are going to talk more about both of these components. And then finally, and maybe the ultimate purpose for us, the way we look at the program is that it's the first step towards joining the association, because that's where the fun happens, and that's where there's long-term benefits to our community. So with the community, we hope to create a steady pipeline of high-performing youth who empower one another, uplift one another, and continue to carry this torch forward through future iterations. And now Deena is going to talk to you a little bit more about her journey going through the program. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so as you can see here, it was quite a process. It was nerve-wracking, to be honest, going through the filtration. It was one email after the other, one approval after the other, one test after the other. But thankfully, it was very rewarding. So basically, it's the decision. So any one of you, if you're thinking about applying, you need to take the leap. I remember going back and forth amongst myself, my friends, my family, should I do it? Do I have the time? Do I have the commitment to do it? And I spoke to Nael a few times on my career aspirations, and thankfully he's very supportive as well. So I took the leap. June 2 was the deadline to apply, and I applied on the day of, just a couple of hours before. And then, as I mentioned, it was quite a difficult process. There was quite a bit of filtration going on. So it started with a bunch of interviews. We were 1,000 who applied and only 120 who got approved for an interview, and I passed, thankfully. I made it with Aisha and Sheikha over here as well. We were then shortlisted. We were around 60 people. We had to do team projects for team building. We had to do IQ tests, and the IQ test was very difficult, might I add. Thankfully, I passed all of those, and then 2 months later, we got the outcome. We received a call from the Association of Lamea announcing that we made it to Lamea 5, and it was the most rewarding feeling, and it was just absolute joy and pleasure, to be honest. So then I realized that the dream I had initially and the realization I had initially, Lamea also saw that in me. So I was very grateful to take on the next project. So that's when the program started, as Davia just mentioned. Just the filtration process was 2 months, let alone the actual program that took around 5 months, 6 months. It's a big commitment. So in addition to your job, you have classes after work, you have assessments, assignments individually and as a group. Managing your schedule personally, aligned with work, aligned with friends, aligned with other commitments is very challenging. And part of my interview questions, I know Dabia asked me, how do you plan on managing it with a family and work and all of those commitments? But we made it work. Take the leap. If you feel like genuinely you can offer more, you can see yourself in higher positions, then it is rewarding, to be honest. So just a bit on the modules. We go through 4 modules followed by an international boot camp. I'll hand it over to Dabia to go into the details of the modules, just to run by the benefits of each.
Thank you, Deena, for sharing your experience. So the way we have built the program is for it to be a comprehensive capability building framework catered towards leadership, the way we understand it. Because in Lamea, the type of leaders that we hope to build, we always say this, a leader doesn't just have to be the person whom everybody follows, because a leader needs to also know what does it take to have operational excellence? What does it take to have a foresight, to have strategic decision making skills? We look at people because all of us are going to end up in different career paths. As we progress into our careers, some of us might end up on the strategic, side of things, but some of us might also be expected to lead technical teams, to really have a thorough perspective about what does it take to have the outcomes that you aspire for, personally as well on the level of your organization. And so the way we look at it is, on the first module, these are the building blocks of what it would take for you to succeed throughout the program. So how do you present? How do you develop presentations that are polished? So this is something we really, really care about. How do you have leadership presence? How do you utilize proper research tools? So we go through, qualitative, quantitative research. How do you make sense of the data that you're going to be using throughout the modules? And then how do you work with AI? And this is something we're going to talk about a little bit more. Of course, now all of us are very familiar with AI, but it's also become this buzzword, and it's also become this thing that is thinking on behalf of some people. We sometimes work with we look at it and how do we make sure that we leverage this tool as opposed to have it just do the work for us, because it always shows, right, when you do it this way or you do it the other. That's something that we really focus on. And every module ends with a challenge. So for example, with the first module, it would be just kind of understanding what level of working with AI would be acceptable going forward, right? So what are the guardrails? Where do you use your own judgment? So that's what we do with the first module. And then we move on to skills that are of course important to everybody, because you can be the smartest, most intelligent, most perceptive person in an organization, but if you can't advocate for the outcome that you want, if you cannot pursue persuade, if you cannot negotiate, then a lot of the time, we leave the meeting room feeling very, very frustrated that we know we have the right idea, but if only we were able to channel it properly. So that's something we really focus on. And then the challenge here would be a live debate. So, people would debate topics that have nothing to do with the corporate world. And the purpose here is to ensure that nobody kind of has an advantage. So we would talk about 20th century French philosophy. We would tackle topics like that. We would talk about sociology, environmental concerns, just to ensure everybody is doing a fresh research and is defending positions that they may have never thought of, right? So there's a lot to learn from that experience. And then with the third module, this is kind of catered towards the execution side of leadership. When you're reviewing, when you're understanding the nitty-gritty detail of what your team has come up with. So in order for you to understand that, you need to be able to do it yourself as well, right? Because I can't give you feedback on something I don't know how to do. So we go through applied project management frameworks, budget allocations, resources, constraints. And then the final challenge, and I think this is the beauty of Lamea, is that what we do is not theoretical and abstracted, removed from reality. So we ensure that all the key challenges, groups are expected to work on them with actual entities in the private and public sector. So they would develop project management plans. For example, Fahad's team a couple of years ago, he works in Bobco, and they worked on an application, an HSE, health and safety application for Bobco, keeping in mind all the actual budgetary constraints, resource constraints, and the type of digital infrastructure that Bobco is currently using. Why? So that when the groups complete those projects and we submit them to these entities, there is real value added. If those projects were ever going to go live, all the work has already been done by those contestants, and they're also being judged يعني على how usable is it, how feasible, how realistic really is it. So there's a lot to learn from doing these kind of simulations in coordination and working closely with real stakeholders. Similarly, following that same logic with the final module, this is where we learn strategic decision making. This is where we understand the nuances of policies that we advocate for. How again, you can have the best idea, but if you can't convince your stakeholders on a state level, on a corporate level, then there's a problem there. And so even when we talk about, for example, national policies and أي موضوع يعني you're going to give me, your stakeholders are not just the government. It's not just about the government kind of accepting it. It's also who is it going to affect? What is their perspective? What do they think about this? And so this kind of teaches our participants how to try to develop a holistic view about what they advocate for, because it can affect literally يعني كل شريحة في المجتمع a lot of the time, right? When we talk about national policies. We try to do that through developing a systems thinking approach, understanding the building blocks of policy and public influence dynamics. Now, what also I think makes the project special is that these learnings are not simply drawing upon يعني established discourse within professional development curricula, but rather it builds also on academic concepts. So we bring in academics, whether in Bahrain, we also do this, يعني, we're starting that next year, and Fatma can talk about this more. We're also collaborating with entities يعني, abroad, just to bring in that important academic perspective and bridge the gap between the two worlds. Yeah, this is just the program in a nutshell, and I'll take it back to you.
So I think the most awaited part is the boot camp. We were actually sent to Kenya this year, and we were tasked with climbing Mount Kenya. You guys are trying to find out who's who. So basically the objective of this, before I start with the objective, honestly, it was difficult, not just physically, mentally. So Fatma was with us, Aisha, Sheikha, and it was a new experience for me because A, I've never been to Africa, and B, I've never climbed a mountain, I've never gone camping. It was a totally new chapter for me. It was extremely cold, extremely exhausting, and it was daily struggles of should I continue or should I give up, honestly speaking. But it made it worthwhile because of the outcome. So what did we learn? Mental resilience. It's all in your head. pushing yourself, telling yourself, yes, I can do it. I'm on a mission. I'm resilient. I'm focused, and I can. B, having a team with you. So I remember all of us had breaking points at some point. So either emotionally or physically or just exhaustion, and caring for each other, taking that extra step to make sure that your friend or your group is with you all the way to the end just adds that value. And finally, never doubt yourself. You can do it. Your body can do it. It's just a mental state. So when I was on top of the mountain, I got altitude sickness. I had a few battles. Let's keep it to that. But your body is strong. It's just all mental state. So when we reached the 4,500-meter altitude, it was honestly the best feeling because I finally did something new, and I did it with my friends. So that was very rewarding. And then we come to the graduation. So as Labia mentioned, we graduated just a few weeks back, and it was the most surreal experience. After all that effort, all the hard work, just the being with Sheikh Nasser and being amongst my friends, it was just an amazing feeling. It's something I can't genuinely express. And I gained more than that. So other than the modules, other than climbing a mountain, something I never thought I would do, I also gained 100 plus friends from alumni from the Lamea Association. And I have also the opportunity to continue learning and development, which is something Fatima can walk us through a bit more. Thank you.
السلام عليكم جميعاً. معكم فاطمة البستكي, part of the Lamea team. Thank you, Deena, for hosting us on GFH. We're happy to be here. So generally speaking, with any program, people think that the end is when the program ends. But Lamea is much more than that. And actually, it begins right after. يعني the program is just a small bit that qualifies you to join the association as a member. And when you join the association, the nice thing about the association is it's run by the alumni themselves. So what tends to happen is we have a board that consists of Lamea alumni. We have the management, our amazing GM Labia, and we have different committees that tackle different things in the association. For instance, we have a community committee which does the social activities. It's run by a head that's part of the alumni and members from different cohorts. And we have other committees, for example, partnership, which we're very happy to have Deena join us in expanding our reach and partnership with entities across Bahrain. We have committees such as learning and development. So we have events that give opportunities for Lamea alumni to develop. So life after Lamea program actually becomes way more interesting. So just last year, we had 10 social events. These social events are quite diverse. We have things such as a marathon or a paddle tournament or something as casual as a majlis. We had 8 learning and networking events, and with that we mean we have workshops. We have something similar to Minds at Work called Coffee with a Leader, where we bring in industry experts to speak about their experience and tackle different topics. We had a round table, which I believe is over here. You can see we had 3 leaders from Bahrain, Ali Musa, Maha Mufiz, Dalal Al Qais. So you can see that we bring in experts to help you develop, expand your network. You get to meet these personalities, and we also offer trips to our alumni. So just last year we had 4 trips to UK, Zanzibar, we did Turkey, and we did Nepal. They actually did the Himalayas as an exercise and activity. So as you can see, we are always giving opportunities, and because the alumni is run, the association is run by alumni, we always think of ways to give back, pay it forward. We always come up with new ideas. يعني هالسنة we have 20 new individuals. They have new ideas and ways to expand the association's activities. And last year, we actually went above and beyond to expand beyond just Bahrain level activities and engagements. We had a lecture delivered by Queen Mary University of London. We had 4 of our alumni sent to University of Cambridge for a executive program under the Judge Business School. So these are some just of our partners that we collaborate with, either in the form of sessions, or we invite them to be part of the selection journey of Lamea, or we invite them to be part of the evaluation of the program. And this just shows you that our reach is no longer just limited to Bahrain, but we also expand internationally. Now, before we go to and talk about the selection process, I want to share more about my experience. And I've been lucky to be part of the very first edition back in 2021. And I saw it grow all the way and every year. And we keep on challenging ourselves every single year. How do we push the bar higher? How do we make it more difficult for the next batch, but also how do we make it more rewarding for our alumni? And I've seen a lot of things happen over the past 5 years, so many experiences, so many things. And what I want to يعني بوصل لكم اليوم أو today I want to deliver is, you need to know that Lamea, and I honestly say this as a person who was there for 5 years, it transforms you as a person. What I could have learned in my career in 5 years or 10 years, I learned it in 1 or 2 years in Lamea because of how much exposure you get from Lamea. And also from a professional basis, it helps you in your career. يعني يمكن I understand we're all in the financial sector, it's quite demanding, and Deena shed some light on the commitment, you'll have to go to work. And I remember back in my days, يعني I would leave work, go to محرق because our training sessions were in محرق until 9, and أرجع بيتنا في الرفاع. So you can know the amount of struggle, commitment, how do you do it every day? And sometimes you go back home, and I'm sure you did, and work. So it's a lot of commitment, but trust me, it shapes you as a person, it makes you more resilient, and it gives you that perspective to yourself that you can do more. And I got my second job actually through Lamea and the network I have from Lamea. So it also pushes you to network and know more people. So we get into a comfort zone after some time with our careers, but Lamea is that opportunity to test your limits and push yourself. So I strongly recommend you to join our family in Lamea. And now I think the most important part, the selection stages.
Thank you so much, Fatima. So Deena Magasarat, went through her experience of going through each one of these selection stages. So I'm not going to just tell you what they are, but rather maybe shed light on what is it that we're looking at in each of those stages. So now when we open the applications, the registration process on the 2nd of May, the application form you're gonna see it's looking for 3 distinct criteria. So أول شيء is your academic performance, which again, none of these things in isolation would make or break anybody's application. Not all of us cared about college, and that's fine, Maybe today we're doing amazing in our careers, that wouldn't define us, or it could be vice versa, right? Like some people ممكن during their college days they've had the highest GPAs, but maybe in their careers things didn't go that way. We try to look at everything holistically, so your academic achievements as well as your work achievements. So what initiatives have you implemented? What awards maybe you have received? How do you think about problems, whether في سياق العمل or also in open-ended questions, which is a section we really care about. It's a long section because you're expected to answer about 300 words maybe in that section. But what we're looking at here is how do you think about general topics? How do you think about things that have nothing to do with what you do on a day-to-day basis at work? So that is the purpose of this stage. And then if you're shortlisted in the interviews, really we try to understand candidates more closely through personal narratives. So it's less structured like a work interview. So it's not going to be, where do you see yourself in 5 years, or how can you do this, particular task? Because obviously, people who come through Lamea represent a wide variety of sectors. So your technical knowledge is less of an area of focus for us, and more just trying to understand, do you have the grit? Do you have the right type of mindset that we're looking at? Do you have aspirations? Can you commit to something as demanding as Lamea? Because it's really, as much as we try to kind of say beforehand, before people start, that hey, it's going to be tough, I think really it only lands when you do it and you realize, okay, this is actually not a joke. This is actually tough. Having a resilience, discipline, having that kind of mindset is what really gets you through the program, and then you see the light at the end of the tunnel after those 4 intensive months of training. So that's something we try to kind of gauge if the candidate can do that during the interview stage. And then the team challenge stage is very, very revealing. For us, it's such an important part of the filtration process, because what happens here, you would have, I don't know, 60 people in groups of 4 to 5, and everybody is under a severe time constraint, a lot of psychological pressure, because you know you're being assessed and you're competing with the people you're supposed to be collaborating with in this moment in order to solve this puzzle or challenge that you have at hand. So here, really, you learn a lot about who would show up and demonstrate leadership skills, who would be a great facilitator, who makes sure that there is proper cohesion in the group, who's gonna maybe just sit in a corner and say, you know what, I need to think, I'm gonna get this done. And you know what? All of those personalities are great. All of those personalities have a place in Lamea. And maybe one common misconception, I don't think this misconception maybe exists now, but maybe back in the day, and now we are looking for people who are leaders in the traditional sense. Not at all. Like, we've had people in the team challenge stages who are just, literally they're like, okay, tell me, what do you want me to do? And you can rely on me. Maybe I'm not going to be chatty, maybe I'm not going to be loud, but I'm going to sit in my corner and I'm going to get it done. And that person might have even won the program, right? So we have an open mind about the type of leadership that we look at and that's we look for. So that's the purpose of the team challenge stage. And then as Deena said, the different skill testing that you go through in the next stage, it would include things like IQ test, a psychometric test, which is really just to understand you better. So that one is not assessed. And then there is a case study. So last year, for example, it was give us a 10-year plan for how you would solve a national problem in Bahrain. So it's either how are you going to cut costs, or how are you going to create a path for financial sustainability within this. And now imagine working on something like this within 4 days and rehearsing how are you going to practice it, and then how are you going to defend your answers in front of a maybe not an easy panel, but how would you do that? So of course nobody's expecting perfection in that stage, but we want to see how much can you push yourself within this time constraint that you have. So that's something we look at. And sometimes in the panel, a lot of people leave thinking, oh my God, there's no chance in hell I'm hearing a call back. They have asked me too many questions. Nobody seemed happy with my answer. Yeah, and then they get the phone call, wow, you've done amazing. So that's something really to keep in mind. And yeah, finally, hopefully, we only take 20 people, so but hopefully over the years, all of you get to be a part of Lamea. So yeah, this is what I wanted to share about this stage. And as you can see, because it's a very, very competitive program and there's rigorous stages of filtration, out of over 1,000 applicants, last year we only have accepted 2%, which is more competitive than Oxford University, I believe. So, and hopefully, we continue on this trajectory going forward. Now, in terms of the requirements, I'm sure this has already been circulated, but as you can see, you would have to be Bahraini national with these minimum requirements. So it's important to finish the form in Arabic. That's something I wanted to emphasize, because even though we do mention that sometimes, a lot of the times you get applications in English. And what I want to say here is, naturally, all of us maybe tend to lean toward one language more than another. So maybe some of us feel much stronger and capable in Arabic, and some of us in English, and that's perfectly fine. But to complete the form in Arabic, feel free to use translators, to use AI, whatever tools that you need, as long as the originality of your voice can still shine through. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, to ensure adhering to the word limit. You are going to see that in the open-ended question section of the form. Just make sure to stick to the word limit requirement. Sometimes you would be asked to list 3 initiatives. It's important that you do actually list 3 initiatives, and you can always do that through the plus button. And then maybe the most important part, and I'm only going to talk about this, I'm sure maybe all of you know how to use AI better than me, but what's important for me to speak about, yeah, as an assessor, is how much we see really brilliant people fall through from the very first stage, and we never get to see them in the interview stage because of how they choose to use AI. Yeah, and as I said previously, yes, it's a tool. It should help us. It can help us, but to replace our thinking, and if you copy and paste the question and you just say, make it sound human or make it sound different, everybody's asking AI to do the same thing. So we end up receiving many variations of answers that by the 200th application, khalas, we have seen every possible iteration that ChatGPT is going to come up with to answer this given question, right? Because كيف البداية ما بنشوف أول 100 application, but at some point you're like, I've definitely seen this. Then, you know, we always go back and make sure we grade rigorously. So one way to kind of overcome this when you use AI is to make sure that you share your actual perspective on the answer, and maybe just ask it to fine-tune the grammar, to structure the sentences better, as opposed to answer on your behalf, because that would make a difference. But then that also takes me to the second element of it, which is how brilliant individuals' voices get lost because it is AI's drafting and not theirs. What I mean by this is, I think by now we all know this, ChatGPT has this preferred method of writing that back in the day used to be a hallmark of good academic writing, but today it's like a very quick ChatGPT giveaway, right? Like, for example, when it says something like, it's not only this, but it's also that. I'm sure now we've all seen it a million times. Or this doesn't just represent this, but it's also this, and that. So this way of structuring sentences is very prevalent today يعني with ChatGPT, that when an assessor looks at it, even if مثلا the thoughts being expressed are your own, it doesn't really show because of the way the sentence is written in this very kind of exhausted manner of writing. Same thing with, you know, the M dashes or the writing in threes, this and that. Because again, that was a hallmark of good academic writing back in the day. I'm sure none of you maybe needs to even hear this from me, because I'm sure you already know this, but it always bears repeating, because as I said, يعني we see many brilliant people that يعني لما نشوف just their CV, it looks fantastic. But then when a big part of the filtration is this initial form and we don't give it the effort that it deserves, then naturally the assessor would think, you know what, then we should give a chance to the person who actually did put in the time and did put in the effort. So that's why it's something I wanted to share. And yeah, then just finally, be sure to please submit your CV, which can be in English, that's perfectly fine. Passport, ID, any supporting documents. Now, what is meant by a supporting document is that some of us, يمكن حسب our line of work, you can really kind of explain what you do if people could see it through a portfolio, through a presentation that properly shows your facts and figures, you know, your achievements. So if that's something you feel like would help you, it's completely optional. Feel free to attach it, and I can promise you that we do look at each single attachment. So it's not, your effort is not going to go to waste if you choose to go this route. And yeah, now we will take your questions. Okay.
Thank you guys for your time. If anyone has any questions about the program, my journey, or anything specific to Dhalbiya or Fatna, please let me know. Okay, just wanted to thank everyone for being here today. Thank you to Lamea Association, my Lamea fellow members. It was an honor to speak today to you about my journey. Thank you.
Hi, Jane.
مشكورين ما قصرتوا يعطيكم العافية.
Thank you everyone for attending this very insightful session. We'll see you inshallah in another one next week. الله يعطيكم العافية.